Okay, for people joining this live stream, this is our monthly documentation meeting, where we're talking about a variety of topics related, needless to say, to documentation. Okay, let's talk about the root guide page on the web. Okay, what are we looking at here? Okay, so what am I going to do here?
Yep,
So
just any of those. So this was one of your ideas, to have it not quite the full span of the tile.
Is Jeremy here?
I am. It doesn't look that connected to me. I'm not.
Doesn't look that good. No.
Yeah, no, I'm not loving this. Maybe some border there, but this is definitely better.
I agree, it's better.
Connects up to the the structure of the page, like it's actually an overlay, but it looks like it's a unit of the page is a problem.
What about bringing a yellow border down around here?
Yeah, that would help.
Can we try that in real time? Is anybody here who could try that?
I can try adding a border.
Thanks, Sue.
Okay. Oh, cool. Guide previews on link hover. Is this real? I meant.
It's just a mock-up, but it was Heidi's idea based on the other fat tooltips we were doing for usages.
Yeah.
If it doesn't have a load time problem, I love it.
Well, we do plan to lazy load those things, so this would be 2 if we did it.
Now, I don't know if you would want more to scroll up for the rest of the list, or link off to the page. The little more at the bottom. Some of these are going to be a lot longer than others. So,
well, I think it's got to indicate if it goes longer, but I think, I mean, I don't see. You're not going to be able to deep click on an individual function, are you here, or are you?
No.
What's your idea?
This looks like a preview. Maybe you might be fooled into thinking you could, but I don't think that's what we'd build.
Well, what do we think? I mean, could we in fact deep link into an individual function there?
I was assuming we would, actually. Why not?
Yeah, if you can read it, if your eyesight is good enough.
I mean, this is probably a large desktop view feature.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very nice.
It has to go away pretty quickly. Let's see at what viewpoint.
I like this. I mean, I think.
Yeah, we're 3-column all the way down to almost 600, so that would technically work. It would just get pretty small at small widths, you know, between 600 and 800, it's going to be pretty tiny.
I assumed it would be gone by then.
Well, it could go tiny just to give you a sense of scope, but then have a pure click, you know, just click to the page type thing.
Even the headings, just the orange, those are really useful. You don't even need the function names in some cases. Maybe we could just switch to those, you know, when it gets narrower.
That's possible.
Well, yeah.
I kind of like having the function names, even if they're really small. You could have a differentiation between the sizes so that these are just blobs, and these, so you don't imagine you're going to click on them because they're just a blob. But it gives you some sense of how many functions there are there.
Yeah.
So
now,
when do the rest of the tiles gray out? Is that only when you mouse over, or is that when you've clicked core language and structure?
Yeah, I've made them a little gray, probably on the mouse over, or maybe not, because you needed a differentiation between the 2 pods.
This one going gray.
It's just slightly gray.
I really meant the rest of the tiles, the data manipulation and analysis and everything else. Those
it's kind of light boxed.
Yeah, they're light boxed down. That seems okay, but I'm wondering, is it a natural transition to go to this being slightly gray? I guess it is. If these ones are going full gray, and it's okay to light box down these top tiles, but not light box down the other tiles on the page?
I don't think I'd do that. I'd light box down everything.
Yeah, that was kind of an oversight.
Okay.
But that light box effect occurs only when you started mousing over the sub items and you get this, you get the preview pop up, or is it when you've clicked core language and structure to pop
Yeah,
up?
I mean,
the
I don't
list to begin
understand
with?
why. I mean, in this case, for example, one could, that would absolutely be a way of distinguishing this, is to
Gray out the background.
is
around
gray
it.
out the background. That way, you absolutely know you clicked that. And as soon as you move off it, well, okay, then you've got the weird case of you're moving to something that is gray. Well, you could gray it down slightly, or you could punch up this tile somehow. But I don't know. It'd be worth trying to gray down the other one slightly, I think. What does Jeremy think?
No, I like that lightbox effect. I'm wondering when the thing goes away. You mentioned, is it when you mouse out, or do you click to make it close back up?
Well, yeah, I think you have to click to make it close back up. You do not want it going away, otherwise you get that crazy thing we had with the.
I know. Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
And by the way, this effect of a partial tile is good. When it hits a full tile, it's a bit weird, but we could always force it to be a partial tile's, height.
Mm-hmm.
You add some weird bottom padding. In some cases, it'll look like a mistake.
Yeah, all right, fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, fine. So the bordering is the better idea. So let's see what we can get with bordering.
Yeah. If you shift refresh that page, there's a little bit of a border there now.
But the lightbox takes care of that too.
I don't know why, but I went to the wrong URL if you want to click it again.
Yeah, I saw that little border.
Well, it's thicker for me. When I shift refresh, I don't know why it went to the wrong page for you though.
But again, I almost don't even need it's good, but the borders, I think the lightbox is more important than the border.
Okay.
Is that the border you're seeing, or you're seeing a different border?
Yeah, I'm seeing this one. It's there, but I think the lightbox is really what connects it, right? Everything will fall back and you're just going to look at sound.
But I like the border though. I mean, the border is good.
It's fine. I just think the lightbox is really going to do what we need.
Okay. But don't lightbox it too much, otherwise people will think they can't move anywhere else.
Yeah.
Let's try it. Sue, is that something you could try?
I think that might take a bit more work, but I can see if I can get it.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, Brian, our live stream is pointing out that if these are not clickable, they shouldn't be the same blue.
No.
I don't know. Yeah, that's partly true, but if they're really just blobs, I kind of agree. That they should drop down into some other blue or some other grayer color. Slightly subtle. Now, we didn't discuss the more button down here. Do we, in fact, have long enough pages that that's an issue?
It should just go to the page. You get no benefit after you click. You might as well just go to the page and back up if it's not what you want.
Sure, by the time you clicked.
Yeah.
Right.
But as far as your question of page length, language overview actually does have a section past what's shown here. So it's just one, but it's not infeasible for.
Okay, by the way, the separators, this will have separators on it, on the page, right? You're not stripping the separators here.
No, I think it was just lost in the mock-up, if that's the case.
Fine.
There actually aren't any on the page. Like there are no delimiters on the page.
I was thinking no separators. You're going to get a lot of lines that way. It's going to be very line.
Well, we got to see it. Oh, there's one.
Oh, well, yeah, those separators.
I like it.
Yeah.
Heidi, I assume that's just like a screenshot of the page, right? At a certain width.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we do with the more? I love the look of this. This is a great idea, Heidi. Well, I got a couple of minor comments, okay? One is the kind of the way that it comes out at the right, but having such a long distance between I'm just a little concerned about how you connect that
I think
thing on the
it
left.
should be a background hover, right? Instead, I mean, you could highlight the text, but the background hover as a bar would connect it up. See what I'm saying? Just spans.
Yeah, I see. You have a background bar that goes all the way across to the speech bubble thing.
Yep.
Okay. What are we doing about more?
The more could have a GMA instead of a down arrow and just go to the page.
Yes, but we got to indicate how much more there is, I think. I would love to say plus 2 sections, plus 1 section, or something. Is that feasible?
I mean, it's just counting headings on the page, so maybe.
I mean, if
or
we
some other indication of how much more there is.
Yeah, it could be like another 20 functions in the section you're seeing.
Oh.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I was thinking we could even do thumbnails there. Little
would be
tiny
lovely.
thumbnails.
See whether you can make that work. If you can make that work,
Is this only doable web only? Brian, is this, how would this work in product?
The other fat tooltips we said were web only.
Yeah, we don't. This is a lot of roll your own, getting mouse over hovers anyway.
Okay.
I think we should concentrate on the web for this and see how it does there. Okay, let's move on. So we're going to do a couple more experiments on that more button, and otherwise, we can see it in the design meeting, perhaps.
I added a slight overlay for when you click.
Cool. Okay. Which one? Demo 2 or Demo 1?
Demo 2.
That's nice.
That's lovely.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Well done. That was quick.
Sue's the best.
Now, wait a minute.
You would have to click on sound again.
Okay. All right. So that needs to be fixed. That
Sure.
Yeah, I think the hover should be full brightness too. When you hover over like strings, right?
Yes.
That should light up.
Yes. This is very nice.
Yeah, looks good.
And oh, you didn't do it. You didn't do it for everything. You only did it for a couple. So you didn't. These ones would have an orange border, right? They would continue that color.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Great. Okay, onward.
Time to go meta.
Yeah,
we're live stream cross-linking the live streams to the.
Yeah. So there's that new live streams icon there on the right.
Hey, why don't we do a Drost effect? We can link this live stream to the Anyway, never mind.
I mean, do you want these interrelated links? Once before, you had talked about putting design history GMA after the history footer section, but that's getting quite a bit longer now that we have the modified in full history there. And then also some of these symbols have multiple live streams that we'd be linking to. So I just want to know the best way to do that.
Well, that isn't real, I hope. Neural repository. I hope.
No. This is just a layout of the icons that were approved before. And then the live stream one there on the right is what we were suggesting if we put these live stream links in the related links section.
Why wouldn't we? I don't see any reason not to. I mean, so long as the landing pages for the live streams look sensible and make it clear that they have dates on them and things.
Okay.
So is that the idea that if a function had more than one live stream, it would have a landing page that would link to each of its live streams? And is that something that we get for cheap? Or is that something that somebody's going to have to? Well,
I think what we should do, okay? I mean, we're planning for a different project to annotate live streams, because what we've got with the new video capabilities in version 12.1, we should be able to automatically scan the video of these live streams.
Sweet.
We're going to try and make, half a dozen thumbnails from each live stream so that you can tell roughly what happened in it. Okay, together with the plan is to run speech recognize and see if we can generate some word clouds from them.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Okay. And they also have titles. So my tendency is to think that every live stream will end up with a homepage. And so then when this says live streams, maybe this can open. What could you do here? See, I don't know how many there'll be for any given function. For a guide page, that I mean, like for, I don't know, for the database functions, there are a painfully large number, right? There's probably 15 for those.
Should we put these on guide pages or just on symbols?
I don't see why we wouldn't want to put them on guide pages.
Okay.
As long as there's a reasonable landing page for that guide page, if each symbol on a guide page has, 5 live streams associated
hold on
with it.
Hold on a second. There are 2 different things here. Actually, there are 3 things. So there's a different kind of live stream, which is the presentations that, like the new in version 12.0 presentations that people have done. Those would really be worth linking here. Honestly, those are probably more worth linking here than the design live streams.
Okay.
Right? And if there's other Wolfram U content and so on, it is really important to link here. So, I mean, I'm kind of thinking that there needs to be humph. Look, how are we doing when there's multiple data repository entries? What do we do? What do we do with that in this related links thing? Do we list each data repository entry? I mean, when you say data repository here, that is really the name of a data repository entry, right?
I believe so. I'm not sure. It's not that common, and I don't think that we have data repository links from docs, but
we should do.
In that case, I would think it would be one repo item per link.
Okay, so fine.
I'll talk to Brad Ashby and Billy about cross-linking those.
I don't understand. You're saying the link would say data repository?
No, absolutely not. It would say it would have that icon, and then it would say, meteorite impacts, whatever the name of the data repository item is.
Yeah.
But wouldn't there still be something that says data repository?
Yeah, I think it would be meteorite impacts in the Wolfram data repository or something like that.
Okay, can we be specific here? Because this is very obscure. I'm confused. Can we see a specific example?
Okay. Yeah.
That first one is an example, and that list under related links.
But that's not a real example. It's demonstrations with fold list or something. Is that right?
Well, I think it's meant to be, that's demonstration title, and underneath you have paren Wolfram demonstrations project, right? That's the.
Okay. Is it a specific demonstration?
No, it's a search query.
Okay.
So
really? You know what? Let's be specific. Okay. We don't know what's here. Can you show me a specific example of this page?
Let me get one.
Okay. Okay, let's move on and we'll come back to this, okay? Unless you've got it immediately.
I did, it's not with demonstrations, but with fast introduction and an elementary introduction, we preface both of those link texts with the title of that website.
I don't understand what you're talking about. I want to know, is this linking to a specific demonstration or?
Oh, I already told you that's linking to a search query to all the demonstrations that use function.
Okay. What about linking to neural net repository?
Okay, I will come back to that one. I'll find one.
Brian, do you know? Is Brian here?
I am. I don't know off the top of my head. It's whatever's in the
so
source.
listen. What I think in most cases, these subsidiary links could have multiple items in them. Like the neural net repository, there might be 5 neural nets. I don't think we want to gum up this page with listing 5 separate neural nets.
I'll say that I found the net model page has a link to just the neural net repository homepage.
Right.
Which I think probably makes sense because it's the net
right.
model
Okay,
page.
so then what we really want is to say networks in the neural net repository. Okay, for another page. Let's say it's for facial features or something. Okay. Networks in the neural net repository. And then what I think we should do is some kind of pop-up menu that lists the particular ones. So like it's a micro guide page. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So rather than 5 separate bullets for each of those things, you have one for, and then it pops up.
That's what I'm thinking. And with the live streams, we could say design live stream, December 3rd, 2019, design live stream, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
We could say presentation, live stream, and we list the presentation ones first. Okay. List them in inverse chronological order, most recent first in general, and presentations before design ones. That's what I think we should do. And each one then clicks to the home page of that live stream, which could be a YouTube page or could be an embedded page. Okay, it will be an embedded page once we have all this stuff with
that new project you were talking about.
No, you mean the word cloud and or thumbnails and all that. But by embedded page, you mean a page on our site under documentation, or do we mean
it's a page on the site under live streams? Yeah.
Okay. And we have such a page now that isn't directly associated with you. Is that correct?
I don't believe that's correct yet.
Yeah. Okay. That's what
I believe that needs to come.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have separate ones like for the physics project and things like that.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Someone is asking for embedded video in a notebook. You should have been here for another recent live stream. It is coming in 12.1. Excitingly. Okay, updated in separators.
So this is
markup.
Yeah, at the very bottom, Heidi has some options there for you.
We're looking at these?
Yep, and those ones at the bottom, that we had them separated just by commas. You wanted to look at other options to separate the full updated in history.
Well, dashes is sure not going to work. That's like November, who knows what that means. Commas look weird. I don't know, these bullets look okay. It's a little weird with the decimal points. Jeremy, any ideas?
I think the ones that cycle between decimal points and not decimal points bothers me more. But the bullets look good, but somehow you get down to like 10, 9, 6. It's looking odd, like I'm not connecting it to versions.
But that's also because Heidi is listing them out of chronological order. It would never look like that.
Yeah, okay.
It would always be 6, 9, 10, whatever.
And they're also supposed to have years in parens after each.
Oh, okay, well then.
Oh, really?
That would help.
Oh, I missed that. We're going to have to come back to this then.
Okay. Can you remark that and we'll come back to it?
Yep.
Okay. And can you mark it with them in numerical order? Okay. Vertical responsiveness, big topic.
So I gave you some screenshots if opening this is annoying, but I also gave you buttons that opens it at the right heights. We just kind of want to.
Live stream is suggesting vertical separator bars, but we're kind of using that for the difference between introduced in and updated in.
Yeah.
And Brian was also suggesting earlier a count of the lines not shown in the guide pages. Possibly. Let's see if we can do something more with a. You know what? Another thing we could do, maybe too cutesy, is a kind of an icon of a page that shows, partially. What can I say? That shows like the whole page. It could be quite long, but it like one of these icons here, and then it shows some part of it is white and some part of it is grayed off, and then it has a guillemot or something. Maybe that's too utterly obscure. Jeremy, do you understand what I'm talking about?
I do, but to me, it only works when the icon's big enough.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure how it works in a small space like the bottom of that, right? That little bar at the bottom.
Yeah, fine. I mean, the problem is with the bar at the bottom, you know, I think it should just have lots of arrows, you know, big arrow down and then more or something. And then you click it. Well, it needs a guillemot. The problem is that it's the bar is a very horizontal thing, and yet what you're trying to indicate is a lack of vertical stuff, and that's awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, vertical responsiveness. All right, what are you going to show me here? What is this?
This is just to compare the what happens at the different heights.
Okay, so what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to change the window?
You could open up all three, or you could just open up the example screenshots. I put
keep
them
it nice and wide though. Don't change the width, just the height.
So okay, what am I doing? I'm changing.
Just click the other two buttons as well. So leave this one. Okay. Yeah, and then you can compare all three.
That button is not doing anything. Oh yes, it is.
It's taking a second.
It's completely. What the heck is it?
Finally, it made it 600 height.
Web executing.
Web execute, yeah, that's fancy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then there's another breakpoint at 400, the other button.
It's better to just use your mouse and resize the window.
Well, that's magnificent, but what does it mean? I don't understand.
So just put them side by side, and you can see that it's already reducing white space and lowering font sizes.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so you should scroll down the page and see the different sections. There's probably more white space we can reduce, but we should talk about.
So you're saying on this page, if I go...
That's the real effect, yeah.
Cool.
Yep, there you go.
That's cool. So, but the most important place where this appears is in the sidebar in the cloud.
I mean, yeah, that's the prominent use case, I think.
Why is that important?
Because you end up seeing in the cloud, you end up seeing only superstructure and no content in some of the documentation. If you have a small
I think a lot of these.
That's not a short case.
Yeah, that's a narrow, right?
I know, but it's both narrow and short.
Are there cases where you're using the cloud with a small height? I mean, you're not.
Well, look, it worked for Stephen. You know,
no, but that's narrow. But I don't think it did it. It already did this. Okay, what was the use case that we were inventing this for? This is vertical responsiveness. The issue, I remember what the issue is. The issue is in the cloud when you have multiple sections in the sidebar, okay? You get the stupid thing that when you are making the sidebar of low vertical height, that there are three sections there, but they're not responsive vertically. So you end up seeing only the top section, which tried to grab a lot of height. Does that make sense?
I understand it, but I don't know how you get in that position, right? How do you get into that state?
We get in that state in a bunch of the starting points.
The videos do that, don't you? So maybe the MOOCs would get into this case. I could see that.
Yeah.
No.
The panels, you could have the panel cases where no?
We're not putting documentation pages in the MOOC panels.
Okay.
What did we invent this for? We wanted vertical responsiveness.
Stephen, you mentioned the onboarding pages probably, right?
Yes,
where there's a lot of stuff on the sidebar.
But again, it's not narrow. It's narrow width, not small height.
I mean, the docs tend to be its own overlay, right? You'll have stuff on the sidebar, and then if you choose docs, it replaces what's in the sidebar completely.
Okay, so listen.
I was just thinking of documentation list builds in the future. Like people would be using only the web docs, and they'd probably want to position their windows on the screen.
Right, but we had a much better reason to do this, and it had to do with the cloud case. But it doesn't matter if we've done it. So let me see. In this case here, so the point is that you've squashed these up in some way. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, if you compare it to the tall one over there on the right, there's somewhat reduced white space.
Yeah, it's nice.
So you could have stacked windows, right? You could have your documentation above and your notebook below if you want that, and it would work better.
You could reduce the white space around those dividers a little bit more.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, but this is a nice thing. We don't completely know what it's for. There was a good reason. There's a really, maybe the notes would reveal.
I'll dig through. Yeah.
Right. There was a really good reason to do this, but since we've done it, let's just be happy. What about guide pages? Will it do that on guide pages as well?
I think we'll have to look at those separately.
Okay. All right. Complaint from Ali on our live stream. There are functions that sometimes take extra arguments, and those extra arguments are not documented. Please give us an example. Generally, they should. If they, unless we put them in as some very experimental thing, they should be documented. So give us an example, please. Okay, ready to go to tech notes. Okay, are these finally, so what are we asking here? Is this?
So you'd picked some colors last time that we talked. So Heidi mocked up a tech note in that scheme, and we really want to approve a design so we can get to implementing them.
Don't we have something else in teal?
Workflows?
Yeah, workflows.
See that on the right there?
Oh, you can't be serious. Those are not different enough colors.
I think that's why there are more options.
Jeremy, I need your help here.
I didn't see that as the workflow color at all. To me, that's blue, not teal.
Well,
I barely distinctly see the workflow color is different, but
this is a nice color.
Yeah, purple's nice. Yeah, the purpley blue is kind of nice.
As long as it doesn't look like a link.
It doesn't.
I would call that violet, right?
Yeah.
You go.
Let's go with this. It seems definitive as well.
Okay.
And what's this? This is tealing things?
That's the jump link, the top.
So chevrons instead of double chevrons.
I see. Looks a lot like a bird walked along the beach there.
Oh.
Is this an extreme case, that number of items? Or is this typical?
Brian?
It's maybe a little high. It's not.
This is a bit odd looking with all those.
Yeah. If there were 6, it would look fine. I think what we have here looks bad, but I don't know if we need to optimize for it.
I wouldn't be surprised if 10 is pretty common.
Okay.
Without actually having run numbers.
Okay. I mean, smaller, half the size, I think we'd be fine.
That sounds good to me. Okay.
But and that's the design as far as content. Content is moving along just as we discussed. I think I need to do about 5 or 6 more sections in the book. There were a few issues with with some content that was merged into tutorials for version 6, and I need to find a way to split them appropriately or duplicate the content. And it's the content is almost in. So the design was once we get this approved, then this will be just about wrapped.
Okay.
Can we look at captions? There was a couple other things here. And
by the way, Brian, I'm wondering whether we should put something somewhere, maybe at the very end, that says this was based on material from the Mathematica book, just because for people who, I don't know whether it's worth that context, but it is a little. I mean,
it isn't always true though.
No, it's only when it is true. I mean, some of it still is. Whatever. So long as it's timeless, I guess it's. I mean, so long as it's really timeless. You know, in other words, we get some benefit from saying it was in this book 30 years ago. And we also get some, you know, like if it's time, I don't know. Andre,
I get what you're saying, where it's not only does it make it clear that it's a little potentially long in the tooth, but it also kind of shows off that, hey, it still works, even though
yes, right.
Well, are we not going to use the notes about when the information was added?
Right, that was part of the original spec, and it was something in the header, and it still never made it in. But
okay, well, so let's look at that, please, and then we could say it's from, you know, based on stuff from the Mathematica book editions, you know, 1 through 5.
I put the old spec. Oh, sorry.
Okay, fine. This really sucks. That does not.
There's a whole bunch of options on the right. You had said last time the captions were all wrong, and I didn't.
Great. Well, these are all wrong because we've got a sans font going for everything. Why on earth will we go, you know, serif for this?
Okay, well, we had a sans font before, and you said it was all wrong. Maybe it's just because it was the light version.
I think the real problem was that it was very hard to read it as part of this, you know, as the, I mean, this made a lot more sense when it was in a printed book. So, you know, it somehow got to attach to this as it's the caption for that, as opposed to it's a floating piece of text that, you know, escaped from the block of text below.
Why is it a caption and not like a light heading? I just don't parse it very well.
No, I don't get it either. But what do you mean by a heading on top?
Yeah, above. Yeah, heading on top. It doesn't have to be really heavy, but it seems like it belongs above.
Well, the problem is they were all written to go below, and I don't guarantee that none of them will fail going above. Okay. Brian might be able to comment on that.
I mean, I can't spirit up the text of each and every one of these, but that would have been my concern too. That
can we find a graphic design device where they can go below but still be attached? I mean, like, for example, what would happen if we had them in the box?
Boxed or tabbed. You could tab it.
Bring an additional frame down, right?
Yeah.
It's white, but it's got the frame line.
Yeah.
I don't think it can be white. It'll emphasize it too much. And also it's got that giant amount of white space there. But why not bring the whole frame down below and have a very light frame in the middle?
Or, you know, if it was inside the box, I would rather it was at the top of the box then.
Okay, but we can't put it at the top of the box.
Yeah.
Content constraint. So design-wise, what can we do? I think tabbing it'll look awkward. You know, the little tabby thing coming out there will look awkward. Unless we had a device, we could round the tab, I suppose. Would that work?
How about just in the box, maybe with a divider line or something?
Well, that's what I said, and everybody said it was terrible.
Well, I didn't say it was terrible, but
I think it's terrible.
I have to try it.
I think it won't work because I think there'll be too much space on the right. I think
it won't read as a caption. I don't think it'll read as a piece of content.
Yeah.
I mean, is it crazy to just have the left bar extended?
No, that's not completely crazy, it seems to me. Would that work, Jeremy, and others?
I don't think it'll be enough. It'll
help connect it. Okay, so I've got another suggestion. What about extending the gray color below the line to be down there, but not put another, do you understand? Not put, the border is the border.
Not put a border, just an empty gray.
Bleed the gray
out. I think we're guessing a little too much. All of these things you have to try. Just
okay.
Yeah, let me try some stuff. Yes.
The people
in a printed book, it would look like a misprint, you know.
Yeah, but it's not a printed book. It's a different thing.
So maybe you can get away with it.
Yeah. Various people are suggesting centering it. I don't think that will work graphically, especially not if there are multiple ones on the page and they don't line up properly. Bullet in front of that, I don't think that will help. I think that will look like a section heading. It'll be even worse. And we are desperately avoiding figure IDs. So In fact, I'm just writing a document now that is yeah. Anyway, okay. Should we should we have some comments here, which I'd like to respond to? What is this? Heidi, is this a?
That's back to the dates, the revised dates, and just that one version up. Yeah.
This one there.
Not to nitpick, but isn't that flipped from the introduced in? We've got year and then the version in parens.
Working under stress.
It'll look fine, Heidi. It'll look fine when that isn't. Yeah, it'll look fine.
Okay.
Bullets. We want
going with the bullets.
Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah, going with bullets.
Is 1.0 an exception for the point releases?
No, there are plenty of point releases.
Okay.
Well, I mean, would
6.1
get one? Like, do you get the point?
You're saying that introduced in 1.0?
Yeah, or is one just so weird?
Oh, I see what you're saying. 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 Should we go to 6.0?
Yeah. You could argue one's just so weird that you need it. But
no. Why don't we go to 0.0 for all of them? I don't see why not.
Okay.
Is that in fact accurate, Brian? Do we actually know for like 2.0 versus 2.1 versus 2.2? I think we have that metadata.
What year we have? Oh yeah, we have all that.
We know the years. Story of my
whether
life.
Whether there was a release.
No. I'm asking whether a function was introduced in 2.2 or 2.1. Actually, 2.1 was a very lame release. Probably wasn't much in it. 2.0 or 2.2.
Sometimes I think, it's whatever's in the source. So it's whatever was there. But we do have, we actually recently had Bill look through the old book sources and find old new in, modified in tags for stuff dating back to version 1.
Okay,
so.
the problem is this. The problem, here's the issue that we didn't, the reason that we used integer numbers. The problem is, because we didn't have a new book for 2.2, the things that were in 2.2 that were not in 2.0 didn't make it into a visible documentation release until the 3.0 book.
Right.
See what I'm saying? The only place we could get the 2.2 new function stuff is the new in 2.2 flyers and things, which we certainly have. I think it's probably the right thing. Jeremy, given all this discussion, whatever, let's put 0.0. Certainly for the more recent ones, 0.0. The only ones where we're going to be confused about that is before 6. Right? And before 6, the point releases were mostly not that big, except for 2.2, which was big. It's going back a long way.
And 4.2 was big.
Yeah, I thought there were a couple. But with the date, we can figure it out. We'll know how to do it.
All right, fine. Okay. Right. Let's see a few points on our live stream here. Ali says, important point, functions like nMaximize are using conic optimization, and there was a Stack Exchange question. Somebody mentioned that method can be defined to get old behavior. Yes. Well, this is the wrong team to be discussing that. This is method documentation for nMaximize. I mean, we have a bunch of new method documentation. I don't know whether it's for those functions. I think that's Brady. That's something for you to take to Roger and his team. But okay. Do you know the status of the method documentation? Because I know that we are working on. Can anybody speak to that? Documentation pages for methods.
I know that there have been a number of them futurized for years. I don't know that. I didn't realize there's been more movement recently.
There has, and there's been a discussion of I forget for which functions of actually having actual documentation pages for methods, and I think we should do it.
Yeah.
Gustavo mentions allowing comments in the web version of documentation pages. We have a mechanism, don't we? We
have feedback. You can give us comments, and we also have on the agenda, user feedback, is this helpful? We have something else we're going to talk about with that too.
Well, we also have the users adding examples to pages. What happened to that project?
We mapped it out, and I still have all the notes. We just haven't kicked it off yet.
That doesn't sound good.
Okay,
I'll kick it off. We have a backlog list?
I'll report it to you in Roadmap 2.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So this was started.
Somebody's sending another thing here.
Sorry, it's captions.
Make it italic, at least.
Yeah, the one at the bottom is italic, yeah.
Below the gray bar?
Yeah.
That's a weird case. That particular box is the only one in the version 1 book that was a 1-column box. Almost all others are at least 2-column.
But I think the italic helps make it feel caption-like.
Yeah, but also these boxes have separators in them. That's not going to work. The boxes, these 2 examples you've shown are separatorless boxes. Many boxes have separators.
Right, which is why I feel like it could have the frame but not the color. The caption should also be indented more, like you see how in your first example the caption sort of aligns better than when you see this bullet. So we got to figure that out as well. I think this is going to take more effort, and we've got to bring it back around.
Bring it back around.
Okay. Docs example, iconizing options that are too long.
Right. This was something that you asked about via email. These are a couple examples that that make sense to me as being crazy.
Absolutely. This is bonkers. Just totally bonkers.
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, unless this is specifically this is specifically documenting grid, so maybe there's reasons to have this in this particular case. But generally, let me look here.
I mean, yeah, we were trying to find examples where
the options were not illustrated to the example.
Yeah,
I mean, this one, it's of plot 3D, so these are plot 3D options. But I agree that this would perhaps not be.
I think those distract. I think the mesh goes to none, and the plot style and all that stuff, I think they just distract from what you're trying to show.
Right. The code
is supposed to be branch cuts.
Right, exactly. It's about branch cuts, not about plot style. So iconize all the plot styles, And the mesh, I guess. So both of those.
Yeah, probably all of it. I think all of it together was the point. Was just like iconize all the options into just one blob.
Right, all options here, yeah.
Couple of things. Bob on our live stream is asking, how do we deal with version numbers versus version? You know what? We've never had. This is one of those hacky things. We've, I think, in $version number, we've never had even close to 10 releases between 2 integer releases. So we've never had the issue of bad ordering of 12.11 being later than 12.3. So hack, but we have been able to get away with a version number that way. And maximize documentation should be updated to tell the user how to get the old functionality. Yes. Yeah, that's terrible. I don't know why we don't have that. I mean, there's wrong team to be discussing that with. That's Roger's team for nmaximize.
It could be a note for the incompatible changes list.
No, but also the question is on the page, and also why is it? The whole thing just sounds wrong to me. There should be a method arrow, classic or something like that.
Yeah. Legacy,
whatever. Just sounds wrong. But this is the wrong team. People here don't know.
So this iconized business is more of a discussion point. I mean, those 2 examples are illustrative of what we're talking about.
I think what we should do is do a programmatic scan and then try and hone the program based on which ones we say, yes, that should be iconized, no, that shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think at some point there's always going to have to be a human involved, though.
Of course there is. Yes, yeah. The human will have to push the button, but I think we can programmatically scan for highly optioned functions.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking this would probably go.
The other thing that we might want to iconize is things where we have, we could use examples that have more data and that don't have to go to example data to pick some data up, which would be nice. Where we can just have an iconized thing that just says example data as its icon name. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so. So it would just be something defined, or not even defined beforehand. It could just be right in the example.
No, it's right in the example, but it would just be, it would be something like whatever it is, like that, which I think would look really nice.
Now, something that's in messing with iconize, I think is still missing is when you select something, right-click iconize, you can't name it.
I thought that was getting fixed.
Well, but I don't think there's any UI for that, is there? Like it just dots it for you because there's nowhere to type a name.
I understand that, but I'm saying I thought we had figured out a UX for that.
Oh, maybe so. And I haven't tried it in a little while.
Well, why don't we check whether there's... I agree that... I remember talking about this. I thought we had figured it out. I don't know. Okay, mentioning
wait before you run. The human decision-making process, would that ultimately be enough to inform a machine learning, neural net?
If we collect these examples, we might be able to train.
And would that neural net be able to iconize for all users automatically while they're coding?
That's really interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
And well, the hardest thing that I think about this, the thing that's going to most require curation is you have an example that's illustrating a specific option.
Yeah, right.
You don't want to iconize that. And I'm not sure if machine learning might not be able to be subtle enough to read the caption beforehand.
Yes, if we put the caption in, look, that's a special case illustrating an option. Right. If it's in the option section, it's kind of a different game. But I do think that idea, suggesting to Brenton for the user assistance stuff, that be a possibility is interesting. It had not occurred to me. Okay. A suggestion that you iconize it. Okay, mentioning cloud in relation to notebooks, different notebook interfaces.
This is really just content update. Cloud in some of our older pages, cloud's not mentioned, as it has no real mention at all.
So, like under notebook interface, there, it doesn't really say anything about cloud. Should it?
What the heck do you do in cloud? There's no save and save as because it's auto saving.
That could be a note.
Well, not on this page. It's pretty irrelevant. Put that particular note.
Right, but it's but for other format pages, right? That this is how you access this files of this format in the notebook interface.
Yes. I mean, one of the issues here. So what's the issue with this page? I mean, that works in the cloud just fine. It's a little weird, but you can certainly do it.
Not sure.
I mean, there's nothing you can run cloud put in the cloud.
Maybe what Brady's saying is that this page doesn't actually talk about that. Maybe it does, but
I see that it would be worthwhile to mention that.
Yeah. That's really what this point is about, is talking about the cloud more in functions typically run from the desktop.
Oh, well, if we're going to do that, we also should think about mobile and touch interface stuff, which we also have not systematically talked about. I mean, we've had that long-running project to put icons on pages to indicate when
prerequisite icons. Okay, right. So merge this with that.
Well, I think so, but the prerequisite icons are such a mess, as we realized when we started doing them. Of is it a private cloud? Is it a public cloud? Are you logged in? Is it do you have this? Do you have that? But I think what may be the case, there are plenty of functions that have no prerequisites at all. I mean, it kind of reminds me of those things you see on shipping containers where it has a bunch of weird icons, don't tip this upside down, don't do this, don't do that. And that's kind of what I had in mind. But some of those icons may be, I mean, I don't read the ones on shipping containers enough, but I just kind of wonder, there's probably an icon that means live animals inside and stuff like this. Which I've probably never seen. I haven't read a FedEx airbill since FedEx was a new company a very, very, very long time ago. But when it was a new company, they had some wonderful things on their airbills about not shipping live animals and so on. Anyway, who knows? But okay, so question is, do we end up, what has happened with the prerequisites project?
It's been on hold.
Why? Because it was too difficult from the point of view of content, or for some other reason?
Yeah, because the people that we were involving, like the front end group and QA, were too busy at the time. I want to kick it back off for 12.2. We just need to act early on that, because we'll have to touch all of the authoring notebooks, and we want to do that before development gets like really in swing.
Well, okay, but do we think we have the content?
No, not yet.
Okay, do we think the content is makeable? Because I think the trouble we had before was, as we tried to just make an icon that says this works in the cloud, there's a lot of footnoting to that. See what I'm saying? We had a cloud with a slash through it, a cloud with a sort of squiggle through it, which means it sort of worked in the cloud.
Yeah, there's private cloud only. There's, and all the different.
There's like requires mouse. Yeah, I mean, I do have a list of some of these things, and one of the challenges was figuring out who's kind of responsible for generating all of this, how we're going to work through it.
Well, right, and unfortunately, some of it really requires a lot of footnoting. It's like, well, because you can have a keyboard on a supposedly mobile device, for instance.
Yeah.
So, it's not just a cloud and mobile type thing, or mobile versus desktop type of story. It's, do you have a, because mobile, there are things that don't work on mobile or do work on mobile, like geolocation is much more likely to work on mobile than it is to work on something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering whether it's a textual thing, whether it is in fact the case that most pages have no, special prerequisites at all, but that we should just have icons that mean there are prerequisites associated with, mobile use or cloud use, and then you click it or something, or you roll over it, and it tells you in text what the story is.
I like that. It's like an asterisk.
Right? Yeah, right. It's like
and you only expose it if you want to see it.
Well, right. If you don't, right. But so what we need then is an icon that means there's an issue with the cloud or with whatever, and click this thing to find out what the issue is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's where we should go, because I think before we were trying to have these orthogonal icons for everything, it just wasn't working. Comment from Bob on our live stream that's actually kind of interesting is the question of, could there be, well, in a sense we already have this actually. I mean, could there be a form of like when you get that as output, you see the problem is that you don't know whether you want to give that form. The question is, in a sense, output already uses the analog of iconization. We've got a whole lot of other stuff coming in terms of elision of output and being able to click on things going beyond the too big indicator. By the way, Brady, can you make sure it should be on the user assistance user assistance agenda, although I don't think we're going to get to it immediately. But we have had a bunch of discussion about elided output, and I don't think that's on the current development priorities list.
Okay.
And there's several things ahead of it. Okay, let's go on to this. Oh, I hate these things. Oh, to workflows.
Oh, you do?
Was this helpful? More or less. I don't know. What do? Do you ever click that?
I do.
Okay.
I do when I'm mad. I only ever say no. I never say yes, if that makes sense.
Okay. Anybody else in this meeting? Do you click it?
Anybody I fiercely ignore them.
Yeah, I took to ignore them.
Okay, well, I guess that answers that.
I mean, I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear.
Well, maybe it's generational.
Okay. Who here is young and does or does not ignore these?
I'm under 40 and I ignore them. I don't know if that counts as young.
It's a stretch.
No, sorry.
To me, that does.
I guess it's just me, Stephen. But is that what you would like me to do? I could just kind of survey people.
Well, let's talk about whether there are variants.
Still here, right?
I let her drop off.
Oh, okay. All right.
What would we do if people just said no, no, no? What would we do if they said yes, yes, yes? Do we give the author a gold star if they say yes a whole bunch? I mean,
what happens when you click no? Is this? Do we have any of these?
Like in these two examples, Google's just goes away. Like the whole section just disappears once you say yes or no. And then ours, when you say yes or no, you get the option of adding a comment.
Yeah, that's useful.
No, that's useful. And well, let's find out if anybody ever commented on them.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll bring it back later.
That iconography is so old, we must have had these for at least 15 years. So we must have a lot of comments or lack of comments. So let's get that data.
You could have it say, was this helpful or not? And then have it say yes or no. People don't know what to click.
But it's like, or not, yes, no, I don't know.
Oh dear. Okay.
This is just an internal email link.
I'm on.
We've got various people on our live stream of identifying various ages. One person over 70 identifying that the was this helpful is useless.
They're live streaming this, so there's like people commenting during the meeting.
Oh,
Heidi.
Heidi, you're explaining that to everybody.
So in email you had mentioned, do you remember this?
I do remember this. This is an issue. Let me take the example. What was the example that I had originally picked?
I don't know. You didn't pass it along. This was through Matt, and what Matt said was different than what I understood from your clarification. So, I mean, I know there are a bunch of old screenshots in like the old sysadmin guide, like installing mathln.
No,
that's not.
No. Gosh, that's an unbelievably useless page. Look at that pathetic. What the heck is this? That's a pathetic level of, that is a totally inadequate piece of documentation. Look at that.
Is it everything about it or just the example?
Yeah, there's no examples. Okay. And it doesn't tell you how to put, where's the list of tags? Something's missing here. This can't possibly be right. Oh no, I know what it was. Maybe. Sorry, let me try this. I've forgotten where this was. Okay, so look, there were things in here that were version 10, Mathematica version 10 screenshots. Okay. I mean,
screenshots of notebooks that have the notebook window of elements that say Mathematica 10 or whatever, right? That's what.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And this isn't great because that's probably going to get redone. So what I'm saying is you need to have tagging for where there are these screenshots, and sadly, you got to go through and remake them.
Yeah.
But the first thing is to have tagging.
Well, you see at the top, it's already been given a generic appearance. So if we just didn't have that cloud banner at the bottom, that would have been fine as a, fairly generic looking screenshot.
Well, it's generic until the world changes and, people no longer have skeuomorphic this, that, and the others. Or they have
arrows, right? No arrows anymore.
Yeah, right. Or they have these things will change. Yeah, styles will change.
Notebook put is a page with something like what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's absolutely horrifying. I mean, that's crazy that we have that there. And these menus might change. Change will happen in these UI elements. We might change the fonts. So if we are able to get it generated programmatically, we should do that. Like that 100% thing might very well change. I mean, it's just like...
I mean, the Chrome around the window doesn't really matter that much. It could be genericized, sort of like what we did with the web screenshots.
You know what we could do?
We have genericized notebooks before. I think there might have been a reason why we didn't do these, but we have done it for others.
Yeah, one possibility is it's a complete fake. That is, the thing that's generated here is a symbolic representation of the notebook, and we simply have a late stage renderer for the notebook that we could subsequently change. You see what I'm saying? So in other words, none of these are actually screenshots. But I think there are things which have to be screenshots. Whatever we do, there's going to be documentation pages on service connection where it's a screenshot of, the Facebook API login page or something. And it's just, we've got to tag these and we've got to look at them every release and try and make sure that they're still up to date. I don't think there are that many of them.
Right, and that little background color is intentional.
Yeah, and that helps.
And these are tagged, I believe. So
okay, well, fine. So then we just didn't look at them. Okay,
it's just not been a solid part of our checklist. So
fine. Okay, programmatic inclusion in the docs. This is an important one. I am so fed up with seeing things like the settings are the same as in whatever. I mean, that's pure laziness on our part. I mean, we can still say the settings are the same as in graph layout, blump, there they are. Now, how do we do that?
Yeah, well, straight up duplication is not a good idea.
I'm aware, but I mean, so my question is, could we have something? Look, the way to do this is to put some kind of thing in the source notebook for, let's say, Graphics 3D that is a harvestable, this is like a form notebook play. It's a harvestable tag for the cell that contains that table. Am I making sense?
I know what you mean. The you're talking about that Plot 3D, Graphics 3D business. The problem with that is that you have to merge two tables. It says Plot 3D has the same options as Graphics 3D with the following additions, and then it has its own table.
Well, then why don't we reword that to say has the following special options. In addition, it supports all the options of Graphics 3D, blah. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I see what you're saying. It's just, it's not always going to be just a straight drop. That's all I'm illustrating.
Well, okay, then we should have an intersperse mechanism. Then we could have something which is, look, then we got two cases. If they're alphabetized, we know how to intersperse them.
Right.
I mean, sometimes there'll be a little bit of a problem with wording, but it's, we'll have to smooth that over. I think we've got to do this. I mean, and some have been copied by hand. We probably should find those and get rid of the copies.
Brady was pointing out before, some of the cloud pages have very, very similar, if not the same options tables throughout.
Yeah.
their function pages, and I assume that was done by hand.
Right. Well, anyway, I think this is a mechanism we need. I mean, I don't see any justification for sending people to another page. You know, the same as on blah, 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 the same as, just say it here. And by the way, sometimes it's not an options table. Sometimes it's something else. It's a piece of text. I mean, I don't know whether anybody disagrees. The only reason we did that was 32 years ago now, 31 years ago now. You know, this was in, you know, a lot of this material was in a printed book, and we just weren't burning trees, so to speak. We didn't want to use more paper, right? So we wanted to shorten it with things like that. But there's no justification for that on the web or in online stuff in general.
Yeah, well, as long, yeah, accepting the whole keeping things in sync. But once that's worked out, then I agree.
Okay, cross-linking. What is this? This is a tutorial guide cross-link.
Right. So this was something that we talked about, I think, last time. The context of this was updating the TechNote contents. Those TechNotes that were perhaps too out of date. This was a sort of precursor project to those updates, which was finding crosslinks from TechNotes to guide pages, and then that would tell us what functions were missing from those TechNotes, and then
I see.
It'd give us some indicator of how much work it would be to update that TechNote.
And what's the answer?
Well, this data is it just came in.
Just got that,
yeah.
And so it needs to be processed. But that was Dave's latest focus, and so I wanted to make sure to give an update on cross-linking.
Okay, but the more important, well, I don't know whether it's more important.
I mean, yeah, he's going back.
Is the stuff to do with
symbols and non-function ref pages?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's the previous opener. That's on this list too.
Oh, I didn't.
Symbols back forth to entities interpreters.
And you had looked at those before, and like Brian had said earlier in Roadmap, we need to get you a list. But I already have a special meeting set up with you, I think on
the week after next.
Yeah, to review them, built as C also, so that you can sanity check them and make sure they're.
Okay, well, I need to see something less programmatic.
Right. It would be built and formatted. This is just the raw data, of course.
Okay, fine.
And we actually need. I have some ideas on trimming this down because these lists are in many cases too long by design.
Okay, good. Thumbnail openers, very nice. So where are the classifiers, embedding, methods? So there are methods.
So those are. I think those are machine learning methods.
Machine learning methods, yeah.
Okay, so there are method documentation pages. They just don't happen to be method documentation pages for conic optimization, but probably there should be. So there's a pattern for method documentation pages. Yes?
Yes, but I don't think they're the same methods that we're talking about. These aren't right-hand sides to the method option. These are let me think of it. Let me find an example.
They came out in 11.3. I can go.
Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't be looking in checkout. I should be looking in the installation layout.
Yeah, one's gradient boosted trees. I can put it in the chat.
Okay, so yeah, ref/method/gradient boosted trees, or follow the link that Brady put in the Zoom chat.
Great. So that should be, I don't understand why we can't have exactly the same thing for the optimization functions. Maybe Roger doesn't know that these pages exist.
I mean, are these in fact, you do classify of blah, 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 comma, method goes
method
to gradient
arrow,
boosted tree?
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly
all right, well, fine. So then
in fact, you can see it right there.
Oh, yeah, well, derf. All right, fine. So yeah, cool. Then we have a... It would need to be genericized a little bit because obviously not all of them are machine learning methods. All of them that I think we currently have in now are machine learning methods.
Well, I understand that, but so it should say things like, numeric computation. I mean, it depends what it is. Optimization method, for example.
Yeah, right.
I would imagine the reason it says machine learning method is because it's applicable to a range of functions, not just classify or predict, but a whole bunch of things. All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's true, but anyway.
It is true. Yeah, it is true.
Okay, well, it doesn't say as much. That's fine. Anyway, you see those where the thumbnails are. You see where they need to come.
Sounds good. Okay. Dynamic pagination. That's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, agreed.
Untitled parens for all relevant non-function pairs. Oh, I know what that is. Yes. Jump to example in options tables.
It'll anchor you down to the example with that option.
Yeah,
right. So right now, the example links that we may have are really small and hard to see. I think that's the point here, right, Brady? Was that this was to call those out a little better?
Yeah.
Okay. Graphics objects for remaining icons. Okay. Tooltips for examples categories. What's that?
We talked about them with you once before, but we'd gotten some user feedback that the headings, our categorization of the examples isn't always clear.
What does properties and relations mean, for example?
Versus, yeah. So, but Itai and Brett brought some text suggestions to Roger. So I'm waiting to hear back on those, and then I'll bring them to you with more context.
Okay. Okay. All right. We don't have a backlog section here, which means I have no visibility into what we're not doing.
I will add a backlog section.
Okay. And I mean, gosh, like, for example, you guys are not involved in guide pages for the function repository. Is that correct?
I mean, I did a little bit of mock-up work for your physics page guide, but not more directly than that. They haven't. Bob and etc. have not directly talked to me anyway about function repository guide pages.
Okay.
I can reach out to them if.
Well, yes, I mean, okay.
Necessary.
And the next issue is the consumerization of DocuTools. Is that I think
we have a
live stream meeting on that Thursday. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything you want us to prepare for that in particular?
I mean, it's worth noting that the attendee list for that meeting is pretty extensive. We've got John and Todd, and I think Arnaud, and I think it might make sense to turn that more into a Packlet repository meeting, because that's
the question
with
really
documentation
is,
tools being a part of that.
Look, the fact is, people want to, okay, fair enough. I mean, people want to document stuff. They want documentation that is buildable to the web. They want documentation, all the things that we now have a pretty clean junior version of that. I mean, look, I've been writing function repository items, okay? And I would say that, these tools are pretty good for my purposes.
Yeah. For function pages, certainly, and we actually have a pretty polished up, palette-driven documentation tools that we will be prepared to show. And it's a Packlet that it's the interface for it is based off of the old Workbench version, but the code driving it is the code driving current DocuTools.
Okay, but I mean, DocuTools must have 1,000 buttons on it.
Yeah, the version that we're looking at has a small fraction of these buttons by design. Now that also means that there are fewer capabilities, but that's kind of part.
Yeah, I mean, I think many of these capabilities. I think an interesting question would be to inventory which of these capabilities from documentation writers and so on, which do you actually use?
And we did
that. Yeah,
that was my first request.
Okay, good. So what's the answer?
I mean, we trimmed down a number 42. Of things, but
nice.
Right, we did trim down a number of things. I mean, if you collapse all these sections, you'll see that, for example, all of the content types, all of the future stuff that's future tentative, there used to be a whole rainbow of buttons down there. You can still get them, but now at least they're hidden. That was a small usability improvement, the most visible because there's no more rainbow on the page. But also rearranging some buttons and dropping some that either didn't work or didn't make sense, and we had no evidence that people had used.
Document history, which I have no idea what that. Cloud examples in it. I mean, there's all kinds of weird stuff here, and all these weird renaming things, which should be. I mean, those are useful, but probably
not really useful externally.
Yeah, right.
And that'll of course be stripped. And we're not going to there's not an O tab, for example. All that O tab stuff. Maybe we want to expose some of it someday, but for version 1 of documentation tools, no need. Obviously, no marketing tab. So it's, if you want to see it, I can point you to it, or I can have Roger install it. I'm a little leery about that because it might conflict with DocuTools, because it has a lot of the same names.
No, let's not do it. Okay. Anything else here?
I don't think so.
Okay, good stuff. All right, talk to you all soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Folks, on the live stream.